The way that I built my business was I know what it's like to be in the other person's shoes.
So you launched Savvy Marketers over a decade ago. And how did your global corporate experience shape your entrepreneurial mindset?
First and foremost, after being a marketer for about 18 years, I decided that it was time for me to embark on a different journey. The way that I built my business was when you bring your knowledge, your credibility, and people know you. Of course, when you start your own business at first, you're knocking on.
What were the key challenges and maybe breakthrough moments while scaling Savvy Marketers into a globally recognized brand?
If we're relying on traditional research, we're missing a big opportunity. So since 2017, we embarked on really bringing, I would say that we've had tremendous longevity with our clients. And I mean like 97% longevity, meaning they keep coming back. And that's very difficult to do, right? Because I was already telling clients, this is coming. We need to be prepared because all jobs are going to change. The way we do things are going to change through AI. So that for me, so I always say that marketers tend to be the brain and the heart of companies. The brain, because let me just say it like that. So I don't work with tobacco companies. I don't work on things that may impact the environment or that cause addiction. It's not that.
Welcome to another episode of Birdseye Leadership Talks, where we explore bold ideas, strategic leadership, and the journeys behind today's most impactful executives. I'm your host, Martin Rovinsky, CEO of Birdseye, and today I'm joined by Alexandra Gonzalez, an award-winning entrepreneur and powerhouse behind Savvy Marketers, a global marketing firm transforming brands and businesses across industries. With an impressive background leading global marketing at companies like Johnson & Johnson and Ergo Baby, Alexandra now advises CEOs and boards on strategic innovation, growth, and purpose-driven leadership. She's also a passionate advocate for women's health and serves on multiple charitable boards, turning personal experience into mission-driven impact. Alexandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Martin. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today.
And I know you just traveled from Dubai, so hopefully you got energy to give us a little punch here of information.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. So you launched Savvy Marketers over a decade ago. What inspired you to take the leap, and how did your global corporate experience shape your entrepreneurial mindset?
That's a great question, Martin. First and foremost, after being a marketer for, I think that back then I had been a marketer for about 18 years, I decided that it was time for me to embark on a different journey. I had just given birth to premature twins that all
Oh,
my
wow.
doctors told me to terminate because one was significantly smaller than the other. And I said, no, I'm going to fight for them. If they're healthy, I'm going to fight for them because they're literally physically I'm literally all they've got. And
Good
after
for
that,
you.
thank you. And after that, I expanded Ergo Baby in about 60 markets. I built a pipeline for 5 years. I went to my board and presented my 5-year strat plan. And I came back to LA where I was living back then. And I told my husband, I think that I done what I needed to do here. He said, so what do you want to do next? I said, I want to be with my kids, but I also want to bring value to other companies. Thinking I've traveled all over the world. I spent over a decade at Johnson and Johnson, leading global businesses across the world. And my husband said, "Okay, so what would you name it?" And that's where Savvy Marketers was born. And he just said, "Just go for it." And I've been in business 13 years, and it's quite interesting because when you're on your own, the way that I built my business was I know what it's like to be in the other person's shoes, right? The pressures that you have internally, how do you have to deliver growth? How do you build a best-in-class team? How do you build a long-term sustainable pipeline? Or how do you properly expand to more markets if you're looking at globalizing? So bringing that knowledge of and that empathy of understanding where they are, meeting them where they are, and trying to really bring the value answers to their questions to guide them to drive long-term success. That's what it has been all about. And one of the key successes that I've had in 13 years is when you bring your knowledge, your credibility, and people know you. Of course, when you start your own business at first, you're knocking on doors of people that have known you, right? People that have either you have worked for, people that have been your peers. So, really, that's the first thing that you do. You start to navigate within your network. And then it's how do you expand beyond your network and how do you really build a sustainable business? And I got to tell you, Martin, that in 13 years, I would say that we've had tremendous longevity with our clients. And I'm meaning like 97% longevity, meaning they keep coming back. And that's very difficult to do, right?
Yeah,
Because the way that I see it is how do you build strategic partnerships? And for me, my mantra is there's the word impossible is not part of our dictionary. It's how do we help drive results? How do we help bring value to them, whether it's a CEO, whether it's a CMO, whether it's an entire organization, whether it's for a specific brand team or specific group within an organization, R&D or marketing or international sales or the commercial teams. How do you really bring value? And when you deliver that and people see the real value that you're bringing them in terms of driving profitable long-term growth, they keep coming back. So that has been very important for me in my business.
that's awesome. So you talk a little bit about success there, but what were the key challenges and maybe breakthrough moments while scaling savvy marketers into a globally recognized brand? I mean, I know after 13 years you probably achieved it, but like you said, it was tough in the beginning.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, in the beginning, first started with myself, right? I had my home office in California, in LA, where I used to live. And then a year later, I relocated to New Jersey because a lot of CPG companies, pharma companies were based in New Jersey, where I had a network of people that I knew that I started to bring as clients. So it made more sense. But it took me 4 years to have offices. And when I created my first offices, there were 5 innovation labs, state of the art. We had for research, our creative team, but I started very small, about 4 people. Now we're almost 20 people. And then we switched to bigger offices. We have 10 innovation labs. In 2017, one of the things that I think it's part of being successful is you have to continue to challenge yourself and think, we're savvy marketers, so we have to stay true to our name, meaning we have to stay ahead of the curve each and every time. We have to think ahead of potential challenges and opportunities. So back in 2017, Martin, I wanted, because I've always been very consumer centric. So, how do we innovate? How do we bring solutions that are designed with our clients' consumers and brands in mind? And with that, I wanted, because I've always been an advocate of market research and really putting things in front of consumers, seeing that, doing things right, that it's going to be relatable, meaningful, that it's going to drive sales. Because if not, you're putting time, money, investment, and it's not going to take off, right? So for me, research is very important. But in 2017, I met the owners of my building is NEC. They were the founders of biometrics. So imagine neuroscience for organizations like FBI, CIA, NSA. So I would see all the things that their R&D teams would do at our building. So one day I knocked on their door and I said, look, I really want to bring, is it possible to bring artificial intelligence to really uncover consumers' emotions, sentiments, and deeper truths? And they said, yes, of course. So I became I did a lot of work with MIT on neuroscience to really uncover emotions. And we built this algorithm and this proprietary AI technology to help us uncover emotions, sentiments, and truths. Why? Because only 7% of what we say we actually mean. And that's neuroscience. 55% come from facial expressions. And the rest, which is about 40 something percent, come from the tone of your voice, on how you say things. So I felt, well, if we're relying on traditional research, we're missing a big opportunity. So since 2017, we embarked on really bringing our proprietary AI technology in any type of research. And now people are all obsessed with generative AI,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And even before ChatGPT, before OpenAI launched in 2022, I was already telling clients, this is coming. We
Yeah.
need to be prepared because all jobs are going to change. The way we do things are going to change through AI. So that for me, really bringing, seeing that bigger picture, identifying global trends, things where our clients could really capitalize or proactively take action. Think about right now in the world that we are with uncertainty, as part of this globalization, tariffs, etc. Yes, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that are happening, but this should not be new. We knew that these things were happening, not maybe in the scale that they're happening now, but
Yeah.
how do we shape our businesses, our pricing? How do we bring value to consumers that they're going to see, hey, it might be a little bit more expensive, but it's worth paying for? Or how do we navigate that locally or across markets to bring less impact to consumers and customers? So these are some of the key challenges that a lot of clients are facing. And for me, it's how do we bring value to them? And especially thinking about leadership. Being a leader is not just having a title, it's really having a very clear sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And how do you instill the best in your team is absolutely crucial. And that applies to us within our teams, but also helping our clients to really help elevate the core capabilities and competencies of their team and really see the future, not and stay resilient. It's not about, oh, it's a one size fits all. Oh, this is going to hurt our business by 20%. Well, maybe not. Let's see how do we best navigate it. And I'm not saying anything, I'm not being political, I'm not saying anything about tariffs or anything like that, but it's how do you overcome the challenges that you face? And how can you think ahead of potential challenges and how to best overcome them?
Yeah. That's challenges are will get your mind spinning, but you got to find a way to overcome them. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
How do you think the role of marketing has evolved in today's boardrooms, especially in a world where strategy, data, and creativity are expected to work hand in hand?
That's an excellent question, Martin. So, first and foremost, I always say that marketers tend to be the brain and the heart of companies. The brain, because they are understanding the consumer, they're supposed to understand their target audience, they should understand what trends are happening and how to best navigate those trends for the greater good of their brands. I say that from a brain standpoint strategically because they need to understand where to play and how to win, but also the heart because they have to be the voice of their consumers, right? And I always say you cannot look at consumers or customers as a target audience in black and white. You need to humanize them. What
Yeah.
is a typical day in their lives? What are the challenges that they have to overcome? What are their pain points? How do you bring a better experience through your products and services? So a great marketer really brings and bridge the strategic aspect with that heart, with that empathy to really connect the dots. And in boardrooms, now more than ever, really bringing that understanding analytically in terms of what is going to drive us growth, how are we going to bring the best return in sales, how a particular product is going to drive velocities on shelf, meaning it's going to be selling no matter if it's at a store or if it's online. It is important that marketers, either a CMO, a vice president of marketing, is working hand in hand with their head of sales, with the chief financial officer, really bringing the knowledge, the data into a compelling narrative. One thing that I would say that impact marketers in boardrooms is when they don't have a compelling narrative to say. You
Mm,
can't just say, oh, this is what the data is telling us, this is what we're assuming, because then there's no credibility. At the boardroom, they need to know that what you are projecting, what you're presenting, has properly been researched, has properly been assessed. So it's not your opinion. You're really bringing facts and you're bringing a very compelling narrative. Because I can tell you right now, 10 different trends, right? And I could give you stats, Martin, but if I don't tell you a story and the rationale as to why this is happening or why I'm recommending something, it's not going to stay on you
yeah.
because we're all human beings. So the same thing happens in a boardroom. You need to really connect the dots and tell a compelling story that it's fact based, that it's data driven, because that's what's going to help those board members make a better decision. Say, okay, this is exciting. I'm really looking forward to moving or entering these markets or to launching these businesses or making these acquisitions. If we don't do that properly, no matter how prepared you may think you are as a marketer, you're not going to get anywhere. And what it's going to do, if you're not properly prepared, they're going to start asking you questions and you're going to be like, I'll get back to you. Oh, I don't have all those answers. I'll get back to you. Before you go to the boardroom, you have to at least think of 10, 20 questions that those board members are going to ask you. For example, if I'm launching a new product, did you test it with consumers? Have you assessed it with retailers? Do you know a projection in terms of sales for the first year? What about the next 3 years? Have you considered a competitor entering with something similar in the marketplace? How do you overcome that? So, those are basic questions, but those are critical questions because any board member is going to ask you that and they want to be prepared. So, if you're not prepared, with even if they don't ask you those questions, if you're not prepared for those questions, you won't be able to answer. And if you don't answer with confidence, there's no credibility. And if there's no credibility, they're not going to approve it, right?
Yeah.
It's going to drive skepticism. And the one thing that you want to avoid in a boardroom is having skepticism, because if there's skepticism, they're just going to move on, go with another topic, and forget about it. And you would have missed a tremendous opportunity.
Yep. In one ear, out the other.
That's right.
So you're known for integrating design thinking into your work. How do you help companies unlock innovation and move from insights to action?
That's an excellent question. I'm very passionate about innovation and I'm very passionate about design thinking. I became certified in design thinking by Stanford, I would say about 14 years ago, right before launching Savvy. Why? Because design thinking is a creative driven process. You don't have to be a designer. It's about building empathy and really understanding how to navigate challenges and overcome them. So the this design thinking process is empathy. You're creating new ways, defining a problem, then identifying how to solve that problem, and then prototyping, meaning finding ways on overcoming that problem. So it's an iterative process. And the way that I bring this through innovation is working with clients. Some of our clients are in marketing, many of our clients are in R&D. So imagine working in categories like healthcare, pharma, thinking about oncology versus laundry care, sexual health, women's health, beauty, hair care, vitamins, minerals, and supplements, food. All of these categories have one thing in common: they all have pain points, they all have opportunities and challenges to overcome. The question is really understanding your consumer, building that empathy, and then identifying how to overcome those problems. And that's when you start to innovate. I'm going to give you an example, right? I'm going to give you a few, but I'm going to give you an example that I'm very proud of because now it's over $800 million. And
Wow.
in 13 years, we have helped our clients reach over $4 billion in incremental sales. That's not one client that's looking at an aggregated of over $4 billion that they have achieved in incremental sales. That doesn't go to us. That doesn't go to our pocket. We're a small business, which we're very proud of with the highest certifications as a small business, but we're bringing growth and value to our clients. When you succeed, we succeed. It's not the other way around. There's no ego where we work. We're here to bring value to our clients. So some years ago, I have a client, a big player in laundry care, in fabric care, and they were looking at categories, new spaces, white space opportunities. And we developed something called laundry detergent sheets. Laundry detergent sheets. This would dissolve and you would put them in the washing machine.
We use them.
And we launched, that's great. We developed the concept, we tested, we conducted all the research for our client, and they launched the Arm& and Hammer Power Packs. It's over $800 million now. And they launched it not only on that, but with other sub brands, and the results were fantastic. But now it's not only in domestic, it's not only in the US, but internationally. Why? Because when you're shipping products outside of the US that have to be that are laundry, 80% is water. It's liquid. Imagine the weight shipping that to other countries. Now you have something that it dissolves, you put on the washing machine. It's a great sustainability story. It's
Yep.
innovative and it delivers on the end benefit, which is better laundry, great fragrance, no stains. So I am not taking a commission or a percentage or anything like that. We bring the idea and we help them design it with their consumer and brand in mind. Then it's theirs, right? And we have done that with many different clients across different categories. And the beauty of it is working in different categories helps us always stay very objective, being this part of self discovery where we just did a project for a very different category called prostate cancer. We have worked on perimenopause or menopause. We have worked on prestige skincare or mastige skincare or hair care brands. And every single one presents so many challenges and opportunities. So going deep, having that intellectual curiosity is very important for us and being very objective. We have discovered sometimes we had a client that wanted to launch something. We did the research, it wasn't worth it. It was not going to drive a competitive advantage. It was not unique. It was not differentiated enough. So sometimes you have to give those news to clients and then tell them, however, if you were to reposition and focus on this, this, and that, that's where the opportunity. And sometimes it's harder to influence. But again, when you go with data, when you're doing it for the greater good of their success, it's not about you, it's about them. You're being very objective, right? Because for us, we are we're not in that day-to-day business. We go in and we're seeing things from a very different lens. Unlike when you're on your day-to-day job, that all you're seeing is that, and you're thinking, maybe I have all the answers. I'm right. But here we go with the what ifs. So it's really looking and helping them shape the right opportunities.
That's pretty awesome. Now I know the person that came up with the sheets. So let's talk about how your personal experience as a mother of premature twins helped shape your advocacy work. How has that experience influenced the mission and values of your business?
I would say, Martin, it shaped everything. I lead with purpose. I created Savvy Marketers with a very clear purpose. I really wanted to make a difference, um, not only for our clients, but also for their consumers. And within that, as a mom of three daughters, I also wanted to really help empower other women that it is possible. You can do it all. Our team, 50% is comprised of women, the other 50% males. I am, I believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion. But for me, I've never hired people to meet a quota. I've always hired people for their talent and their skills. That has always been very important to me. And in terms of purpose, I don't work with everybody. And I'm not saying that in an egotistical way or anything like that. Don't take it wrong. But I know what ignites aha moments in consumers, what makes consumers tick. So for me, I want to work in categories that are for the greater good of humankind. Let me just say it like that. So I don't work with tobacco companies. I don't work on things that may impact the environment or that cause addiction. It's not that, you know, I'm against those companies because I'm not. It's just that I may not save that many hours. I love what I do, but I want to work on something that is going to be for the greater good, right? So if it's
Makes
opening
sense.
opportunities for financial services, insurance, healthcare, beauty, household, other categories, if it's helping drive a greater good, I'm all for it. So I've never been passionate about, hey, let me get into this opportunity because this business, could drive us a lot of incremental volume. Think about tobacco or think about other things that could cause addiction. So I was purposely focused on companies or brands that are more for the greater good of everyday human beings rather than focusing on specific niche that it's not necessarily what I am about. And let me tell you, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me, you're insane. You can go after these companies and focus and do this. And I say, yeah, but I'm not interested. I'm not here trying to buy yachts, getting homes or making billions. I'm not about that. I'm here about loving what I do, bringing value to our clients, eh, providing the best I can for my team to thrive, giving them benefits, helping them grow and build long-standing careers. So that for me requires a very clear sense of purpose, and that has guided me throughout these 13 years.
That's awesome. What as we wrap this up, I got one more question. What advice would you give to today's corporate leaders and boards about staying relevant, innovative, and value driven, speaking of values, in a rapidly changing world, thanks to AI rapidly changing?
Absolutely. That's an excellent question. The first thing that I would say, Martin, is boards need to be and stay true to their purpose as companies. They should not be influenced by politics or certain trends, certain things that are happening. They have to stay true to their values or what their company is all about. And they need to be very clear on how trends will continue to change the market dynamics. Why? Because people may say, oh, AI, yeah, it's not going to impact. AI is going to change everything. The jobs that we do today and how we perform those jobs are going to dramatically change in 2 years from now.
Yeah,
And when I say dramatically change, I'm saying 360-degree change. So, how do we stay relevant? How do we stay true? And then, when we're leveraging machine learning or AI, we have to be very careful on how we use generative AI with our businesses. Because whatever you put on a chat GBT, or if you go with another one, right? Because there are many now, including the Chinese ones, if you use generative AI and you put confidential things, you open them to the public. If you say to generative AI, oh, design me a logo, design me a new campaign, design me a tagline, There's no trademark. So we have to be very careful. Don't think that, oh, I don't need a marketing team now because I have AI. I don't need an ad agency because I have AI. I don't need designers or graphic designers because I have generative AI. We have to be very careful about that, because whatever you put on generative AI or whatever generative AI creates for you, it's not trademarked. That means that they can give it to anybody else. And I say that to many companies because I know that there's a lot of excitement. I see a lot from Coca Cola and other companies. Oh, we designed this campaign on generative AI. Well, anybody can do that. And guess what? That could impact your trademark and your brand within the next 3 to 5 years. So we have to be very careful on how we approach it. We have to think about the legal implications. We need to think about the employee implications. We need to think about privacy implications. And then, very important, if we do what's right and we stay true to our purpose, to our brands, and to our business, and we really continue to stay resilient in uncovering and bringing value to customers, whether it's a consumer, whether it's a retailer, whether it's a patient, regardless of industry, you're going to really be successful. We can't just be all concerned, oh, this is happening now. We have overcome so much. Think about 4 years ago. 4 years ago, at this time in April, we were all in lockdown, Martin. We didn't know what was happening. We had thousands of people dying every day, right? Hundreds of thousands of people around the world that were, with COVID. And look how far we've come.
Yeah.
As a species, human beings are so special and we're
Yeah.
resilient. We have to stay true and not lose focus. I would say to those leaders, think about your North Star. Stay true and guided. Think about, how do you overcome those challenges every day? But think about the big picture. Don't lose and don't get sidetracked by things that are not going to drive value. Yes, AI is going to change a lot of things, but we still need human beings to think, right? I always say AI could help certain things, but it's never going to bring the human touch, the
Yeah.
relevance, the knowledge that we provide. Remember, AI makes a lot of mistakes, and it all depends how you probe it. But you need the human beings, you need those leaders, those experts, because AI doesn't know that. AI is going to bring efficiency and effectiveness. Absolutely. Will it make you be able to make faster decisions? Absolutely. What it would have taken you days, now it just takes you hours. Absolutely. But you cannot put all your eggs in one basket, meaning AI. You have to stay the course. You need to look at your Star and don't lose focus of the big picture.
Awesome. Alexandra, thank you for sharing your powerful story, deep insights with us. I appreciate it. And your journey is a true example of what it means to lead with both strategy and heart. And to our audience, if you're a board member, an executive, a leader looking to innovate with purpose and elevate your brand's impact, be sure to follow Alexandra and learn more about her work at Savvy Marketers. Is it okay if people connect with you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
Awesome. We'll drop that link in there. And as always, stay tuned for more conversations here on Birdseye Leadership Talks, where leadership meets opportunity. And until next time, keep leading with vision. Thank you for tuning in to Leadership Talks. Don't forget to subscribe for more insightful conversations with industry leaders. Your support means a lot to us.